I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Prioritizing your health is one of the best ways to take care of yourself. From routine visits to the joys of pregnancy to the illnesses that stop you in your tracks, Iredell Health System will be by your side. Learn more at iredellhealth.org.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
I want to see the kind of industries that are opening up.
This is Local Biz Now with Joe Vagnone, where your business matters. Local Biz Now.
You have to determine what is working, what isn't working.
Joe Vagnone is a respected business broker, helping individuals buy and sell businesses. Joe has successfully owned and operated many companies in a variety of industries. This is Local Biz Now, because your business matters.
Yeah! You are listening to the #1 live business radio show in North Carolina, coming to you live from our Burner Cigar studio. I am Joe Vagnone. This is Local Biz Now, and you are listening to News Talk WSIC, where we hope to inspire, inform, and entertain you, because that's what we do here at News Talk WSIC. We've been doing this show strong over 11 years. Let me prove it to you. For those of you that question #1 in business, since 2023, we have 72% increase in reach. Since 2023, same quarter, we had 120% contact interaction increase. 57% increase in impressions. Now, I got right about there is when some clapping and some applause would be exceptional, but we don't get any of that on this show. Anyway, we are also strong on YouTube as well. Please go to Joe Vagnone YouTube. Joe Vagnone, Business Broker, YouTube. We have all of the videos. We have well over 700 videos. We have interviewed over 850 small business owners and community leaders, and today is no exception. We are live on the book, live on the tubes, live on the X, and live on any kind of podcast that you can think of. Those of you that don't know Joe Talk, that is Facebook, LinkedIn, or X, or live on the podcast of wherever you get your podcasts of your choice. And every week we have a different co-host. This week we have Michael Clegg. Michael Clegg, most of you already know him because he is a quick return, which might be the quickest return from a guest to a co-host in the history of this show, and his knowledge and experience of leadership is going to prove to you why we chose him to come back. Michael Clegg is the CEO, managing partner of Q Works Group, and is a leader coach and keynote speaker at Leadership Squared. Michael, my friend, thank you for being here, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks for bringing me back.
There's now applause. You get to clapping.
Like
there you go. There you go. Michael, so thanks, buddy. I appreciate you coming back.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So the last time you were on the show, I got in my car. I was driving home. Julie called me, and she said, we need to get him back. And so
thank you, Julie.
I didn't know it was going to be like in 2 weeks, you understand. But thanks, buddy. I appreciate you filling in for Austin.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So tell everybody what Q Works Group is.
Yeah, so Q Works Group is an executive placement firm. So we place people in roles for our clients. Interestingly enough, we have 2 clients. We've got the end client who ultimately pays the bill for us to place people, and then we have the candidates that we actually place. And our organization has been in business for over 20 years, which is a great feat for small businesses because the numbers are not very good for new and starting businesses, and very pleased and proud of that. I think we talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago. We were originally founded and specialized in German-American companies, and so many German-American and Austrian and Swiss, but companies here in the Charlotte area, I think there's something like 250 plus of those types of organizations.
I would not have known that till you just said
great.
that.
I had no idea when I initially moved here 12 years ago, but it's really phenomenal, and many of it really sits in the manufacturing space. And we all know that the Germans have very high quality and very high expectations on the things that they do. So we love supporting those clients.
So here's what went through my mind's eye last time you were on the show. You told me that,
Yep.
right? That a lot of Germans and Eastern businesses, European businesses, were part of the core of what you did.
Yep.
And then, of course, I read your skill in leadership,
Yep.
and it made sense to me.
Yeah.
Because those companies are exceptional companies.
Yeah.
When they hire, they literally hire for life, right? I mean,
They do.
they have no intention of firing you ever when you're hired.
Very
right?
different than the European model is very different than our U.S. model, and it takes some what's the word? It takes some coaching to explain, even from the interview perspective, the questions that you can ask inside of the interview. U.S. labor laws versus what is acceptable over in the U.S. So it is different, but it's great. We've got a handful of folks on our team that are either from one of the Western European countries, and they're responsible for those organizations and helping guide them in U.S. labor laws.
So Julia's put your website on the book. So those of you that want to go to WSIC Facebook, you can click on his website. So your skill set is teaching, managing, and motivating leaders. Walk me through what makes you different. I know you are different, but I also sense the, football coach American leadership in there too, right? So there seems to be a little bit of both of that. Walk me through what's different if somebody were to listen to one of your keynote speeches.
Yeah, there's a lot of bit different. As you just mentioned, I also coach high school football, and obviously I'm missing practice today for you, Joe, who my wife, by the way, absolutely loves you. She enjoyed the show a couple of weeks ago. So now
what's your wife's name?
Kelly.
Hello, Kelly. Shout out to Kelly.
So I'm sure she's watching on Facebook right now too. So it is unique, and I feel that a lot of the things about what I do in football, really, truly, I mean, you've heard this before. I'm sure that football is a metaphor for life. It really is, right? There's so many lessons, but from team
sports, I'm with you on that.
Absolutely, and I believe that from a perspective, there's a few things that I teach a little bit differently from a leadership. I believe most organizations teach leader skills, right? What to say, executive presence, all of those things. That's great. But what I do know about leadership is that I can't impact your IQ, right? We are born innately with our level of intelligence. It's not getting any better.
Or ability to learn, or how fast you can learn something, right?
Sure. We all have the ability to learn, but our actual IQ doesn't change in our lifetimes, but our EQ does. And so, having emotional intelligence is really the difference in what separates, I believe, a great leader from many of the leaders that are out there today. And one of the things that I teach is conscious leadership. And conscious leadership is about deep introspection and self-awareness. And I mentioned this data the last time, 95% of leaders held their hand up in this study saying that they had high self-awareness, but in reality, only 12 to 15% actually had it.
You understand, I'm part of that 12%.
I do.
Do we all say that?
We do.
I would say it.
We do. I actually was curious, who are the 5% that said, no, I have no self-awareness.
When everybody out of 100, 90 raised their hand and said, some of you can't be right.
That's right. So that I integrate the self-awareness and the emotional intelligence into leadership development.
Interesting. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk some more on that.
Awesome.
You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone, and if it's Monday afternoon, your business matters. We'll be right back.
We'll return to Local Biz Now with entrepreneur Joe Vagnone in just a moment on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Okay, that sounds done.
Well, a cooling, comfy start to the brand new week. Partly cloudy.
You're a headhunter. That's what we used to call it back decades ago.
Yep. Some still do.
All right.
See if she's.
I'm trying to get Kevin comfortable. You understand? He's a little.
I'm trying.
The problem with Kevin is he's too analytical. So.
Oh yes.
Radio is the.
You know it.
Radio is the opposite of. All right. So when we come back, Michael, is there something specifically you would like us to talk about, or we're going to head in this direction? You tell me.
Probably should have thought of that before we got here. I think going down the road of self-awareness is a good one because most don't. I think people understanding that leaders typically are there to drive performance, but I believe we leave out half the equation, which is really where the emotional intelligence aspect gets into play. Most people want a great culture. They don't quite know how to. Really, there's really two ways. It's about deeper connections. That to have a better organization is about deep connections and having a great culture. How to actually measure culture because most human resource directors.
And I want to talk a little bit about integrity.
Sure.
I had a co-host that talked a lot about that, and how it was so important for a leader, and to prove that.
Absolutely.
And I found that interesting.
Yeah. No, that's the other half of the culture. It's the trust side, and that only comes through integrity.
Right.
So absolutely.
Okay. So, Kevin, just so you know, every 15 minutes is another break. So after this break,
That's how it's done?
that's how it's done. Right. Okay. After this break, then you'll be on. You got another 15 minutes. Relax. It's going to be the fastest hour of your life.
I got a text saying, "Hey, we can hear the behind the scenes talking on the stream still." I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Talk away, baby. Tell them to come on.
Hey, Lindsay. She's an exceptional coach, by the way, so she could certainly be on your show. She lives up here in Lake Norman area. Oh, my wife just texted. She goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm picking up our daughter."
Hey, Julie.
Local Biz Now with Joe Vagnone continues now on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Yeah. You are listening to the #1 live talk business show in North Carolina. Let me prove it to you. We also have one of the top leaders in leadership and also motivational speaker in the area, Michael Clegg. Michael is a football coach missing the practice today.
Big week, too.
I feel bad about that, man.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry about that.
That's okay. That's
Michael is also the managing partner of Q Works Group, and you are the keynote speaker for an organization called Leadership Squared. I got that right?
You did.
So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Let's keep digging into where we were with this, right? So you mentioned self-awareness. I quickly raised my hand and told you, I know I am self-aware. But one of the reasons I say that is, I said it to you in jest, but I'm serious, is I'm a pretty good negotiator. Mm-hmm. You cannot negotiate well if you don't know where you're starting from, right?
Great point.
And so as people are looking at me and making fun of Joe, right? Yep. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. There might be a few people that want to make fun of Joe, right? I have to know that.
Your brother being one of them.
That's right. That's absolutely right. I have to know that, sure. Right? You know what I mean? And so that self-awareness is very important in a lot of pieces of business.
It is.
Talk about how you get there, because if I think I am self-aware, but I'm not,
that's right. Which is
what are you gonna do?
The overwhelming majority of leaders. Yeah, we have to understand that the higher we go in organizations, the less feedback we tend to get. We also, the data is overwhelming that we listen to people below us less frequently. So if you combine just those two alone, we're getting less information, and information is coming at us every day. We're just choosing not to either see it or listen to it because we believe where we were 10 years ago is exactly who we are today, which is a huge fallacy. We're growing every single day because data is changing. The people we're working with are changing every day. Our clients are changing, and the information and how we do business is changing. So if we do not focus on being very deliberate and change along with that, we can't possibly be truly self-aware to the best of our ability.
So one of the things is self-awareness that's kind of interesting, and you kind of touched on it, right, is I don't ask as much of people around me because I feel like they're trying to manipulate me in their response. Not that I would like their information, right?
Sure.
But I feel like it's a sales pitch instead of just giving me information.
It is.
So I have to discern the difference even when I'm trying to be self-aware.
Yep, you do. Well, one of the things I think it's important to understand, and we hit it a little bit on the break when you mentioned integrity. One of the most important things for a leader to have is trust. And everyone says that. We all talk about it. Everyone nods their head when we go, oh, yeah, trust is important. But how do we get to it? And we get through trust really through two ways, which is the culture you have in your organization. That's critically important. And the connections that you have inside of your organization. The amount of time, we talked a little bit about one-on-ones the last time, and the time that we spend with each individual employee, which
I lost sleep over last conversation. I got to have
if I'm
more
not
one-on-one
mistaken,
conversations.
I believe Julie actually made some comments on the Facebook page too about she demands to have her one-on-ones, and not just when she's in
still
trouble.
waiting on that one.
She is. So Julie, I got your back. But I think it's important to understand that the trust factor only comes. You cannot gain trust if you do not spend time with people. You just can't. So it's great to say that you have integrity, but others have to live that. Others have to see that, feel that, or otherwise your integrity doesn't matter to them as individuals.
It's constantly questioned, which goes back to whether you're actually self-aware or not. I mean, all of these things kind of connect.
It does. It connects. I mean, the thing we have to understand with individuals is that everybody is different. If we don't spend time with individuals, we can't possibly learn how they are different.
And so the last time you were on the show, you talked about no matter what, everybody needs at least at a minimum once a year, a one-on-one for 45 minutes to an hour.
Once a month.
Oh, come on. You didn't say once a month.
I did. I absolutely
I tried to block that out of my mind.
I think you did.
Once a month?
Otherwise, it's just a performance review, which I cannot stand performance reviews. I think they're the worst thing in business.
Okay, back up then.
Yep.
Okay. It is mandatory in your leadership skill program that all leaders make sure that every employee,
every direct report
has a conversation for at least 45 minutes to an hour per month.
15 minutes is a good place to start, right?
That's a little bit better.
15 minutes is a good place to start.
But honestly, if you think about it, it's not as unreasonable now that I think about it, because if I'm not having a 15-minute conversation with somebody.
That's right. My guess is you have conversations with Julie more than 15 minutes a week.
Oh,
or
well,
15 minutes a month, rather.
Right, absolutely.
So
and much more when I was training her. You know, she's got 9.5 years of training now.
Now
I
she's
don't need to have
you.
that conversation
That's
anymore.
Right. I certainly understand that. But you have to spend time, and they want your time.
Right.
They absolutely want your time because they want feedback. They want to know where they stand. And
if they don't want your time, that should tell you something
they likely don't trust you, then, which is another problem. But that's why we have to spend time to gain that trust.
Okay, but I don't have to have an actual review.
No. Once again, if we're having conversations, my preference is weekly. But if we're at least having a conversation every month, we should be talking. I call it the 60-30-10. 60% of it is about performance, right? What are the expectations and how are they meeting it? 30% is about career development. How are you going to help them get to where they want to be?
Right.
10% is what we just call like the breaking bread, which is really the casual, what we would call back in the day, water cooler chat.
Right.
So if you follow that, you're good.
I've been telling people for years, if you're not helping the people around you get better and learn more, there really is there's a disconnect.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's not a month that goes by that I don't send Julie a training video or something she ought to look at, or a book or something, some kind of webinar.
It's one of my core values, continuous improvement.
Yeah,
you have to have it.
And it's for me as well, right? I mean, so everybody should be doing that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm probably doing that anyway.
Julie seems like she liked you, so I'm guessing she trusts you a little bit.
She likes my wife, so she hangs around with me.
So
let's talk about something else.
Sure.
Business culture is something that I find most small business people have no clue how to actually create.
Yep.
They all have one, and I'm not saying they're bad, but it's by default.
It is.
Can you
is.
talk about or tell some small business people out there that are
Absolutely.
listening, how do I sort of intentionally create a business culture that I'm after?
Yeah,
Because this is not an easy one.
No, it's not, but it's actually rather simple. Leadership Square, which is the company I founded this year, actually is a framework in and of itself, and I call it Leadership Squared with a little superscript 2. It's really about the power of 2, and that's culture and connection. And there are 4 steps to connection: one-on-one, skip levels, breaking bread, and stay interviews. Which hopefully, if I get to co-host, we can spend a little bit of time on stay interviews, because to me, it is the most important meeting that any leader or any organization should have. But then the culture aspect is about understanding what your values. As I mentioned, continuous improvement is a very, very important value to me. It is absolutely, and everyone has core values, but what do you do with those core values? I teach organizations how to, 1, come up with their core values if they don't have them, 2, define the value itself, and then 3, define the behaviors. What does good look like? Give behavior examples, and you can do this all on one sheet of paper. So now these values aren't just posters that are sitting on the walls in your office, in the hallways, or wherever it may be.
And I do like posters.
It's okay to have a poster as long as they're just not sitting there collecting dust, right? So to have those behavior examples shows them what good looks like, and then you grade them on those behaviors quarterly. And it's a simple grading scale. It's a plus, minus, or a minus. Plus means they demonstrate that value. Plus minus means that sometimes they demonstrate that value, or a minus meaning they do not demonstrate that core value. Because ultimately, it's the behaviors that get us to the desired outcomes. So if we don't have the desired behaviors, I assure you we're not going to get the desired outcomes.
Interesting. Can you walk into an operation, have a couple conversations with some leaders, and discern whether
Pretty
they're on the right
quickly.
track or wrong track?
Usually you can do that without even talking. I mean, everyone's been to a McDonald's versus a Chick-fil-A, right?
Yeah.
What are the key differences?
I think we've all been to good McDonald's and bad McDonald's.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
What are the differences?
You tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I think how you're greeted is important, right? That is an expectation. Everyone, whether you walk in or walk out.
So it's a feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly is a feeling. But there are behaviors that the employees have and take inside of every single organization, regardless of McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, whatever it may be. We all have an opportunity.
See, but here's the difference, okay? Now listen, okay, this is my background, so maybe I got a little bit more background on this, but I can pull up to a McDonald's and I can immediately see that red car is still sitting there, right?
Absolutely.
I know the production and operation of this operation is going to make me frustrated, right?
That's right.
Like, so I don't care how you say hello, right? I already know you're not a productive operation, all right?
Yeah, you can visually see that.
Right?
That's right.
So to me, I'm already defined as a customer because I know what to expect, right? Is that part of the culture, or is that just a production operational thing?
Well, I think it's hard to separate the two, right? Because remember, it is all about culture is about behaviors. All culture is,
that's
is a set of
So
values.
good operation
beliefs.
does have a good culture
Absolutely.
applied to it.
It's a set of values, beliefs, and expectations. And we all have values, but what are we doing with those values? And that's why I help clients turn those values into actual behaviors that ultimately becomes how we make decisions in and out every single day.
And he does that. Michael Clegg does that through Leadership Square. How can they reach you, Michael? Tell them.
You can reach me out. LinkedIn's probably the easiest way. It's Michael B. Clegg on LinkedIn, and pretty active there.
So Michael is the CEO, managing partner of Q Works Group. I call it a headhunting firm. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Is that like a bad word? You know, my big brother did that for years.
That's
you understand?
right. I do know that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a break. We'll come back.
Sounds great.
You are listening to Local Biz Now, where your business matters. We'll be right back. We're talking with Michael Clegg.
Right here. Local Biz Now with Joe Bagnone will return after this short break on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Julie said, I get a review
Well,
when
the
I
cool and
mess
comfy
up.
start to the brand new
They gave us a lot of
That ain't
this kind of
true.
training.
Yeah.
All kind of good reviews. Not that I super, but it's all ringing.
Yeah.
Hey, superstar, can you start the next segment with the focus on the pumpkin? Can you do that?
60, 30, 10.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
Michael.
Move your bottled water. Oh, that's perfect.
When I had a concern.
Superstar is exceptional. I mean, I'd love to give him a nickname that just pisses him off, but I can't do it.
Just that good?
He just ain't messing up.
Good.
No, that ain't good, because I'd rather give him a nickname.
You can do both.
They asked me in the station the other day, hey, what's his nickname? I said, man, you know, I got to be honest with you, he ain't messed up yet. I can't give him a nickname till he messes up.
My wife sent a text. She said that I sound quiet, and she goes, you don't sound like your normal self. I'm like, oh, great, thanks. I think that's her way of calling me.
Like a football coach.
That's right.
I can tell you that.
That's right.
I want
I'm sitting next to Joe. It's kind of hard to be loud sitting next to Joe.
He sounds like a football coach.
Okay, Kevin, are you ready?
Yes.
Take some deep breaths. Relax. We're here to guide you through this. I don't need that. Move your bottle of water because we got a shot going here, Michael. You understand? It's looking exceptional here. There we go. There we go. Now we got it. That's a lifetime.
That's a good looking pumpkin.
Of more than 0.75% and more than 300 points. The NASDAQ is up 0.5%, and so is the S&P. Tracy Jonke.
Julie
Bloomberg
said,
Radio.
oh, Lord. Look,
Call now to speak with Joe Vagnone at 844 Studio 4. It's Local Biz Now on 1059 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Yeah. You are listening to the #1 live talk business radio show in North Carolina, coming to you live from Burners Cigar Studio. For those of you that are not watching the show, I have a pumpkin that I have skillfully crafted, and my pumpkin has a cigar in its mouth. Here at Local Biz Now, we hope to inspire, inform, and entertain you, because that's what we do here at News Talk WSIC. I am Joe Vagnone, and this is where your business matters. And I am here with my co-host, Michael Clegg. He is the CEO and managing partner of Q Works Group. He also is keynote speaker for Leadership Squared. Michael, thank you, my friend, so much for being here. Okay, guys, you can take the photo off the pumpkin. I just wanted everybody to see the pumpkin that I had created. Go ahead and say it, Michael.
It's a good-looking pumpkin.
Impressive.
It is. It's a good-looking pumpkin. Not gonna lie.
So, Michael, I'm going to need your help on this next interview. There's no question that I have said for many years. I'm 61 years old. I probably have been making this statement for, I'm going to say 25 years. I have bought, sold, owned, and operated more small businesses than anybody you're going to meet. It's a strong statement, you know, and matter of fact, I've even had some competitors challenge it, and they found that the statement is correct, right? Sure. So I'm the guy when it comes to small business, right? I'm the man, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's with the heavy heart that I got to tell you, I met this next guest because, let's say I made a small mistake, right? Okay. And needed somebody to help me with that. So we're going to go over my mistake. Excellent. But before we do that, let's bring this next guest in. His name is Kevin Bray. Kevin, my friend, thank you for being here, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it.
So, Kevin, Archangels Shield, what exactly is that?
Archangels Shield.
Archangels.
That is
what exactly is that?
Well, it's a private investigations company that's now morphing into a security consulting and workplace violence prevention and mitigation consulting company. It didn't start out that way. It started out strictly as a PI business. After my retirement from the North Carolina Highway Patrol, I had a full career with them. And I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with my PI license, and I did some of the classic child custody and the surveillance,
right?
Cheating husbands. Did not like that, and making a long story short, I fell into the security world, executive protection, with a guy that I met at a conference who did that privately. Now, I have experience in executive protection as a member of the Highway Patrol. The patrol is responsible for the protective services of the governor and lieutenant governors in North Carolina. And I was part of that program. Now, I was never assigned to the mansion in Raleigh, but I was a field agent or an advance agent in the field. So anytime that the governor would come to my area, I might be subject to performing the advance work, doing the hard work. Really.
Fun
and
work.
I would send a report to Raleigh, and then the governor would come. So that's that experience propelled me into an opportunity with one of my colleagues to do protective services from. It started out with a high net worth family whose daughter was under a pretty serious threat. Then we did some A-list celebrities, done some workplace violence response. That's been the biggest one. And that's kind of what got me looking at doing the workplace violence
So let me ask a question.
Wow.
Which one do you like more? Do you like the sort of the PI work, private investigator work, or do you like the personal protection? What is one better, or one that you enjoy more than another?
I'm going to say that I like the personal protection stuff very, very much because I use my investigative skills to prepare for those things. There's this little thing we call a threat assessment.
Okay,
that has
but
to be done.
you might get shot on the protection side. I don't see you getting shot on the PI side.
No, but in my business, the way we look at it, and as inevitable as it may be, the way we look at it is if we do our homework, if we prepare properly, we're not going
never
to
at
get
risk
shot.
anyway.
To get shot or have to go physical to protect your protectee is a mission failure. What you miss something. Now, there's always the random acts of violence that you cannot control that happen randomly, but most of them were predictable. You look at all the, I've studied a lot of attacks on high-profile people, and when you look back, there were always signs somewhere, just like the workplace violence things we're seeing.
So Michael, if you haven't figured it out by now, he thinks completely different than us. You understand that, don't you?
No,
the way he views things is completely different. So Kevin, we met about a year or two ago. You asked me to help out one of your clients on a matter that we had worked together. So I knew you slightly, right, on a sort of an informal basis. And then I ran into my situation where me, a master small business guy, right?
Indeed, you are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Made a mistake and literally was I think you could tell when I called you, I was disappointed in myself that I had chosen to do business with a group of people, right? That I just didn't feel comfortable with. And so when I contacted you and said, can you help at all? What can you do? Because I didn't know, right, exactly what you can do. And I came to this realization in this modern day because the business that I invested in was an online business. Had partners in South Carolina, partners in Michigan, Arizona, and Michigan, right?
Indiana.
And so that's a whole nother. Yeah, and that's a whole nother world for me, right?
Yes.
And so what you taught me was how to do due diligence is before the fact. So what I want all small business people out there listening, take Kevin's number down. You can get it on Facebook. What you taught me after 61 years, before I do business, I absolutely should hire somebody to dig into these people so we can define exactly who they are so I can make better decisions. Because up until now, Kevin, I didn't realize it. Anybody I'd done business with, I'd looked them in the eye. Well, I didn't look these guys in the eye. I looked them in the Zoom, right? You know what I mean? Talk a little bit about what you did for me, right? The research that you did for a small business person, because that was very substantial.
Yeah. So it started out, the very first thing that you wanted me to do was find somebody in Des Moines, Iowa, which is another location that was involved in this entire, apparatus that you were, became part of. And it just blew up from there. I got information back from the PI that I hired out in Des Moines, and I took a lot of the names that you gave me, and I basically ran them through a standard, 2 different databases that I subscribe to, which all PIs have got, if worth their salt, if they're going to do that kind of work.
So you have to have a certification to have access to.
Well,
those
you need a
databases.
license, to get. You yourself, both of you could get a Ben Verified account. Truth Finders. Anybody can get those, but to get the ones that give you more deeper and information, you have to pay for those.
Keep in mind, these are people that owe me money, and I don't even know who they are. That I was even doing business with them in a multi-state online operation. Yeah. Kevin, why are you laughing at me? Kevin loves...
we found out who they were.
Kevin's like, I can't believe you were doing business with these people. But that's the point that I want everybody to hear. I did not know the character level of these people. I only knew what they told me, and the level of research that I could do was not enough to determine that.
Right. So, and that's where a guy like me comes in.
That's right.
And it's something I do enjoy. And it's what I'm really good at it.
I feel like Kevin could really hurt us with his hands.
I'm sorry. Am I doing like an Italian?
No.
So
no, actually, Kevin is a very kind, considerate guy.
It doesn't mean he can't hurt us with his hands. He's probably very kind.
I've got a dark side, but I'm a nice guy. But to answer your question,
that's right.
What I did for you that I would do for others, that I do for our mutual client Joe. He won't sign a contract. He's in business. He's in the last 2 years, he's signed multi-million-dollar contracts to do work for people. Only after he had me check them out. His words to me exactly. I don't want to. I'm going to be in a relationship with these people for 2 years, and I do not want to find out later on that I shouldn't have done it. And what I will sometimes find is not the criminal background that's the problem when it comes to business.
Right.
It's the civil side.
That's right. Because that does define character for small business people.
You look
how
up,
you solve their problem.
You can find out if they've had a bankruptcy. That's not always was it 10 years ago? Well, probably not a problem anymore. Sure. But you put that together, a recent one along with a bunch of judgments, liens, foreclosures, and so on. And that's when I call you and say, okay, I'm done with the investigation. I'm not going to charge you any more money because I'm just it's a big, no, red. But
when Kevin says he's done with the investigation, he still does another week's worth of investigation because it intrigues him. He wants to get to the bottom of it, right?
it's a weakness for me because I never really relax. I will sit back just like I did with you. I got done. Okay, I'm done.
And then he kept saying to me, "I just thought you should know. I just thought you should know."
Go to the mountain house with Kathleen, and
that's right.
And then I'll sit there while I'm driving in the car, saying, "Oh, I never checked blah blah blah." And then I check blah, 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 and I find a whole new case.
That's right.
That's what I did.
But what I want, we're looking at about 30 seconds, Kevin, but what I want people to hear is what you did for me was give me information so that I then can try and negotiate either with an attorney or through these no accounts, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some kind of solution. For example, when they come back to me with a counter offer, your statement was, are you going to trust him? Right. And so
exactly
once you get Kevin's information, you know how to answer that question. Yes or no.
This is true.
So you were very helpful. Let's go take a break and come back.
Awesome.
Hire a private investigator. We'll be right back.
There's more Local Biz Now with Joe Vagnone on the way from 105.9 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Thinking, how can I leverage what Kevin does inside of our...
It gets worse because I
was
actually setting my son up in this business.
Yeah.
So my son and wife are looking at...
Oh, no.
He is less judgmental than my son and wife have been on this business. Like, really?
Yeah.
All of this experience, big daddy, small business, and you put me in this group,
When I got promoted to sergeant, one of the first function that they threw in my lap was an HR function. background investigations on applicants.
Yeah.
That's how this all started.
But the point
The
to
things
this
that I found on people
is
trying to be
absolutely
troopers,
the
unbelievable.
investigation is now much more important than it used to be
Sure.
because it's virtual.
Yeah.
It's multi-state.
It's easy to find now for a guy like me.
Sure.
Right.
I know.
I couldn't have done what you
I
did.
know where to look.
Right.
Actually, some of this stuff you could have found yourself, but you don't know where to look.
That's
I
right.
do.
Yeah.
The databases really aren't all encompassing.
Sure.
They point you in the right direction, and that's how I found all this stuff
Right.
on our guys.
Right.
You know, both good and bad. One of them was squeaky clean. The other one, well, he had some problems some
Yeah.
years ago, but he's doing okay now. And then the third character was.
Oh, we back on the pumpkin now.
Oh.
Superstar is the man. He is the man. Check that pumpkin. You the man, baby. You the man. Power to the superstar. Power to the superstar.
That's great.
But yeah, it's an HR thing too. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Especially with our clients where we're placing C-suite.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. With C-suite guys, you're probably not going to find. You might find some civil problems. You might find some. They smoked dope in college.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
But those are the ones you don't have to worry too much about coming in and shooting up the office. It's when you get down to the lower paid people that are come a dime a dozen.
When they're
You know,
when
and
he's
they've got a
teaching me, when
history
they're
of
no count,
violence.
they know how to not be traced and tracked, and so.
Oh yeah, and our worst character was
Right.
with all his LLCs in multiple states had two different states with the LLCs formed on the same day with
Oh,
under different
Okay,
rules.
we're gonna have about 10 minutes when we come back. When you see me do this, that means you got to wrap it up because it's a hard break and Superstar is ending the show.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Local starts here.
Yeah. You are listening to the #1 live talk business show in North Carolina. I'm here with Michael Clegg. He is a keynote speaker for Leadership Squared. He also is the managing partner for Q Works Group. I'm also here with Kevin Bray. Kevin is a phenomenal certified protection specialist, CPP. I got that right?
You got the CPP right, Certified Protection Professional, not specialist.
You got you trying to tell me Julie made a mistake? Whoa.
Oh.
Whoa. You don't get to just slide over here, Kevin.
Okay,
Get back in your
I'm sorry.
spot.
I'm sorry,
Whoa,
I'm
you don't
sorry.
get to just slide over. Okay.
We're not going to blame Julie just yet until I go back and proofread my own email.
Okay.
Because
okay.
more than like she copied and pasted that. That isn't my mistake.
So, but what I want people to hear is this is a certification for security management professionals,
Yes.
and it's no joke that
No.
you have this. I mean, this
No,
is
this is hard to
there's
get.
very this is something that is a real proud, important certification for you, and very few people in your position are able to get this certification. That's what I want people to hear.
Yeah. So this designation comes from ASIS International, which is the worldwide security membership organization that sets all the standards for everything from cybersecurity to information security to physical security, executive protection. If there's a standard for it, we've got it, or ASIS has it, and they are the ones that they allow 3 certifications. One is a CPP, and that's kind of the gold standard ticket for people in my work. Then there's professional certified investigator, which is my next target, and then there's a physical security professional, which is for just strictly physical security of, say, this building here. But they offer these things, and they don't give them out willy-nilly. It's not like you can become a member of ASIS by paying a membership fee.
Right.
Every year, $300 some, just like being a member of the Chamber of Commerce. But what you don't get is that CPP without going through a vetting process. You have to have at least 9 years of experience with no college degree, 7 years.
So,
and 3 of those years have to be in a responsible charge function like supervisor.
So Kevin, what I want people to hear is, because they don't understand all that stuff you just said, what I want them to hear is Kevin's the real deal. And I also want them to hear that Kevin absolutely helped me by providing me with valuable information. You're cutting yourself short when you say I could find that information. I don't think I could have, to be honest with you. And so the amount of help that you gave me was substantial. What you give for the PI is information, right?
Completely.
Good quality information that is relevant and timely so that I then can apply to whatever business setting I need, a choice or decision. That's what I want people to hear. And I want them to hear that 10 years ago, I would have thought it was a waste of money, right? Now I'm telling you, it is absolutely vital that you do that before you make any business decisions in the future. And I'm curious, Michael, aren't we moving in that direction with employees as well, especially in your business where when the German company hires, they're hiring for life?
That's right. Yeah, no, we were saying during the break that I was sitting here thinking as you were talking about how could I integrate this for our clients, right, into the business for our clients, because it is, I mean, you're right. I mean, people do not want to let go of great talent, and they want to make sure that they're getting the best of it. So certainly there's a way, and I think you were beginning to tell a story about an HR issue or where that could be integrated into most organizations.
Right. So
careful now, no names. I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
No, I've been careful not to talk about our three characters. I didn't mention our mutual client's name. I'm conscious of that. Yeah.
Did you say your sister-in-law?
That's right.
But
so, but Kevin, to Michael's point, go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the successes of some of the things you've done in general terms for some of your clients.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the successes that I've had for most of my clients,
it's hard to talk about.
Well, has been post-mortem.
Right.
People are not thinking to come to me beforehand.
Great point.
No, you're right. I would not have thought.
And
you're right.
That's the message that I'm trying to get across is you better. Do you remember the Fram oil commercials when we were kids, where the mechanic is working on this engine, he's making all this money rebuilding the engine because they didn't use the Fram filter. The phrase that he used at the end of that commercial was, "You can pay me now, or you can pay me later." That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Is, and my tagline on my website is, is protecting you from the costs of complacency.
And it's so true. And I do want people to hear this.
Come to me first.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to a guy.
Before you sign on the dotted line.
That's right. And you're talking to a guy, Joe Vagnone, that loves to hold the flag up, that I bought and sold and owned and operated. And I'm here to tell you, right, that the way I did business in the past will not work. The future of this virtual reality, this online level of business requires a level of research like we've never done before. It requires Kevin Bray.
It's not just online, Joe. It might be somebody you've known for years. Right here in the Cornelius era, hey, Joe, I got an opportunity for you. Hey, Michael, you want to invest in this with me? And you know the guy. He's got a nice house, nice car, beautiful family. Okay, let me think about that. And then you call me, and then I start digging.
It makes you think about your neighbor, doesn't it?
I'm either going to find out that, hey, okay, he's solid, or I'm going to find out some things you probably want to know about before you invest your money, before you sign on the dotted line.
Now, are you making recommendations, or are you just giving
I'm
the
giving
facts?
you information.
Yeah, he'll hand
sometimes
you information.
It's so bad, I can clearly give you a recommendation.
He'll give you his opinion.
like one of our three characters.
That's right.
The one up north.
There was and you were so kind about it, right? I mean, he wouldn't just call him a no account. He would just say, you really going to trust that statement? And it is information. And if you understand the information, and he goes over it in great detail with you, it helps you then decide how you want to have a conversation with someone. I'm going to say it's empowering to have that information.
And I will tell you something else that's very valuable that I used to use when I was doing background investigations on applicants for the Highway Patrol, is you do all this work, I give you the information, and now you can go to the person that wants you to invest and ask them questions that you already know the answers to.
That's powerful.
Are they going to tell you the truth? And if they do, well, that's a darn good sign.
Absolutely.
But if they lie to you, make your own judgment.
You got your
do
answer.
You really, Do you really want to go into business with a person that can't be honest with you?
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I cannot stress to people enough how helpful it was, right? You know, and I felt so bad that I didn't know to do this. I've hired private investigators in the past before for, as you say, postmortem, past situations, right? What I should have done was know in a multi-state, 5-person deal that I got going on, I should have absolutely done some research on them and the organizations too. Because you found stuff about the company.
Yes.
That was, you were looking at me like, are you kidding me, Joe? You should have known this.
I'm getting text messages from buddies who are actually looking to buy businesses. So this is very timely for them.
Oh, yeah.
It really is.
Yep.
And I would have never made that recommendation until we've gone through this. So, Kevin, what kind of advice would you give them? Like, when's the right time to employ you? Because, I mean, I'm not saying Kevin's expensive, but I am saying it does become an investment, right? So, give me an idea of timing.
Okay. I mean, I don't work for free, so you're to be investing in my services. It's like insurance. You might not need it. I might do a whole report for you, and there's nothing there, which is really good news for you.
Right.
It's like I go a whole year without having an accident. I didn't need my insurance. Was that a waste of money? No. It was always there to protect me. So your question again was beforehand.
Yeah, is there some advice you might give them?
Yeah, is if you get to the point where you're now ready to go into any kind of business deal, okay, that in your mind could have you end up in court later on. There are some people, I can tell you in advance, if you go into business with them, they're going to take you to court.
Yeah, go ahead and do it.
Or
you're going to be in court in a year and a half, but go ahead.
But before when you're just about, you're right there at the point of no return, it's do or die. I'm either going to go forward or I'm not. Call me. It won't take me long to find out what I want to know. You know, I'm going to need, a couple of days to work on it, another day to drive around the car and have stuff come up into my head. Oh, I didn't check this, because I don't let stuff go, as you know.
But something else you did.
Until I'm just absolutely have exhausted every avenue I can possibly
But Kevin, something else you did for me, because it was a multi-state, I could not even find somebody else to go visit the warehouse to see where my inventory was.
Well, that's another thing. I had to vet.
That's right.
I went through a couple of different guys before
That's correct. You found
to the
me
guy.
somebody else in Iowa or wherever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that was very helpful.
And I was ready to.
And they were ready to help
and
you.
I was ready to pull the trigger on up in Chicago too.
Right. That's
Remember
right.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I want people to understand that, because I couldn't pick up the phone and call and find another private eye from another state. They're kind of not sure about it. But Kevin called them. They were absolutely ready to get in their car and go look at something immediately, which meant I had the services of Kevin throughout the country.
Yeah, that's why you need a professional investigator like myself that's got a network of people that he knows around the country, and I now do in many, many states. I go to conferences, national conferences all the time, and I make friends. And it's good to have. It's better to do that than do it yourself.
Kevin Bray, he is a certified protection specialist, expert, professional, security management professional. See you next week.
WSIC, Statesville,
Kevin,
W290DK Mooresville, W264